Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 13 of Baki Talki. I know I say this every week, but very excited about this one for a lot of reasons. This is sort of the season 1 finale. It's one of those weird seasons that has a halfway point. But also, I'm very excited for our first ever in-person guest, my good friend, Naomi.
Can you tell that I'm here in the same room?
Is that to me? Yes. Yes, I can tell that.
Me too.
So, Naomi, I've got 2 questions that I ask every guest. The first is, other than Baki, what shows are you watching?
Oh, I don't watch any shows. In fact, I didn't have Netflix, so I had to find a stream of this. And there's a website, if the people at home are wondering, called 9anime.net, which has like good versions of all the animes as far as I could tell.
All of them. So if the podcast gets taken down in the near future, that's promoting 9anime.com will be why. That's the best answer yet. You even top Scott, because at least he said that he watched Oz like 10 years ago.
Yeah, Scott, didn't he watch The Office when we were in high school? Some of the episodes because his brother put it on or something like that.
Exactly. I don't watch shows. That's good. Second question. What did you know about Baki before watching this episode?
Before watching the episode, I knew nothing. Other than that you wanted to cover it and that there were a few versions of it available.
Yeah, I tell everybody that because on Netflix there's Baki and Baki Hanma.
And Hanma is the older one, is that correct?
No, Baki Hanma is newer.
Oh, okay.
There's a much older one that isn't on Netflix, at least to my knowledge. At least on Canadian Netflix. All right, let's jump into the episode. So, just to set the scene, we pick up right where the last episode ended. Sikorsky is inside Kozue's room with his hand over her mouth, telling her that she better not scream or he's going to kill her mother.
Am I making the situation clear to you, young lady? One tiny peep out of you and your mother will pay for it with her life.
Naomi, what did you think? What were your initial thoughts as the episode started?
Okay, first of all, the theme song. I'm sure everyone says this. I found some other tracks from that artist. I didn't write it down. The name. It starts with a G, right? It's like some Japanese.
Green Day. Yeah.
I was so hype. Like, you know, like I was so resistant. I was like, oh, I don't want to watch a show. And I've like literally never seen an anime. And then immediately this theme song was amazing. The aesthetics were like, holy shit. Like, I'm about to see a lot of muscles, you know, this is definitely, they have their female audience in mind, you know, or, well, I don't know, their male admiring audience in mind.
Yep.
And then, it was the whole show is very sexual, and right from the beginning with her, and she has like her mouth, they have a thing around her mouth, right? And she's tied up. I think it's a hand over her mouth. Oh, I could be wrong. Editor Steve here. I was not wrong. It's his hands. Sikorsky's only thing is having strong hands, so pretty safe bet. No, it is a pretty sexual show. It's so funny. The last episode, or 2 episodes back, Allie was on and she was talking about how she was hoping for some full frontal nudity. And I said that doesn't happen in this show. And I was mostly wrong, but I don't want to get too far ahead in the episode. Yeah, because it doesn't quite deliver on...
Oh, don't worry. We're going to talk more in detail about that.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. I wrote Baki is so sexy. I like his mole. I think that's actually after. Like, that's right at the end of the scene that you see.
Yeah. He does sort of have like a beauty mark type of mole.
Yeah, like... The angle of his jaw, it's like, this does not exist in, like, Western animation, you know?
No. I don't think Homer Simpson has the same vibe going as Baki.
Homer Simpson has a very weak chin, you know, compared to Baki.
I know who I'd take in a fight.
Yeah.
So the scene starts. Sikorsky is basically saying, if you scream, I will kill your mom. Very, very straightforward. And Baki, or Kozue, says basically, I know you will try, but that Baki, who is nowhere nearby and not in the room at the moment, will stop you before you can.
I raise my voice. You'll kill my mother and me. I believe you. But I believe in someone else just as much.
And what do you know? She screams, he tries to kill her, and Baki teleports into the room, basically. And then they start fighting, of course. What did you think of Baki versus Sikorsky?
Well, it's funny because already Sikorsky is like, wow, like he's really built with like, you know, he's big guy.
Yeah.
And big shoulders. But yeah, Baki is no match for him. Yeah, the logic of him coming in was unclear. There's a lot of quick cuts in the show.
It's to hide the fact that nothing actually makes sense. Like
Right.
like if you actually watch Sikorsky and Baki just phase through the window with nobody seeing, and Sikorsky did that
the
last
glass
episode.
on the floor, right? And
Yeah.
then he steps over the glass. It's so like manly. It's so intense. Like, you know, everything is like has a sharp angle to it, like the way everything is drawn, and like
It might be the manliest show I've ever watched.
yeah, like literally, like you just watch this like giant muscly guy like lumbering around, like, but he's like dodging these shards of glass. Like it's like so dangerous, and like some of the sounds, like I noticed later, they have very delicate ways of stepping, despite their large bodies.
I can run the 100 meters in 11 seconds.
And it sort of comes in later in another scene.
It's the control they have over their bodies from years of martial arts.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess without the context, because this one, I mean, there's fighting, but it's not really, there's no martial arts training that comes into this episode.
Yeah, no, usually in the more extended fights, we'll get a narrator explain to us what martial arts are going on. But yeah, this fight's very quick punches and kicks and jackets being thrown around.
Great music.
Great music. Oh my god. Yeah, no, that's something I think I've forgotten, just because I don't watch every anime or anything like that, but I've watched a few, and I always think the music is very well done. They really hype things up, and Baki is no exception to that. Sad fact, this is the last episode that has that opening theme song.
Oh, what do they use next?
I don't want to spoil it. That'll be next episode. I'll show you after this record, though.
Have you watched all of these before, or this is the
Yes,
first one? Oh, okay.
it's the whole premise of the podcast.
I don't know. I thought we were just talking Baki.
It's Baki Talki. Yes, no, I have watched, for new listeners, I've watched the anime, I've watched all of the seasons that are out on Netflix. I've purposely avoided reading up on the manga or the previous anime just to keep a little bit of the surprise, because I love the Netflix anime so much. But yes, so I've watched ahead.
I should get you the manga from the library. You know, I bet they have it.
Go for it. That'd be fun.
But there's going to be spoilers.
Anyway, back on track. So Sikorsky gets punched out the window. Baki then goes, oh, I'll go out and finish him. And then finds out Sikorsky's not out the window. It's actually just his jacket. And in the 2 seconds that Baki went out the window, Sikorsky came back in the house, took Kozue silently. The mom didn't say anything.
This is Matsumoto. Where's Kozue? Where is she?
He's taken her. He's taken Kozue.
And is now in a truck, or an ice cream truck, I have no idea, driving across town with Kozue.
Oh, yeah, right. This was this was strange, the logic of this. And then who's the person that's left over?
That's Kozue's mom.
Oh, okay.
Baki's landlord.
Yeah, she looked upset.
Yeah, because her daughter just got...
But I was also like, who is this?
It's fair. I think it'd be okay to be upset. So it's a pretty thrilling start to the episode. Baki had defeated Sikorsky, and then Sikorsky kidnaps his girlfriend, drives off into the night. And Kozue is just wearing her pajamas, like pretty revealing outfit. And that's the rest of that. That's all we're getting for that episode, because the next 25 minutes it becomes a Mr. Oliver episode, who has not been a part of the show yet. So that's what we're going to be discussing for the next 25 minutes or so. But before we get to that, we start with a scene with basically all of the world powers have assembled.
Inside, 6 men have gathered from all over the world to find some way of dealing with the escaped death row inmates who have arrived in the land of the rising sun.
We have Japan and America again, Russia, and the UK, who shows up to say nothing. And they have gathered together to figure out what to do about the remaining 3 death row inmates, Doyle, Sikorsky, and Yanagi. What did you think of this scene?
Okay, the British guy is funny, the way they made the British face with like those round sunken eyes.
Well, and he had like a silly name, right? Like it was like
Justice. It was like Lord something.
From the United Kingdom, Lord Chief Justice Julius Norton.
Yeah, I didn't write that one down. I wrote down Valentin Sokolov.
Yeah.
That's the KGB guy.
Well, the American guy's called Bart Allen. That's the Flash.
Oh. So do you think that was like an intentional nod, or it was just like a kind of a...
I have no idea.
Translation thing?
Maybe it was one of those things where just he knows that's an American name from reading The Flash. He's like, that's easy.
Yeah, the British guy does nothing. I had no idea what was going on. Yeah, that makes sense that they were talking about the last 3 inmates. But I was like, what is this meeting? Why is the USSR being mentioned? Like, is that something to do with the historical context of when Baki was written? Or, like, is it set in the past?
It's a good question. I'm pretty sure Baki was written a while ago, but I don't think the USSR was still around. But
that's just more I mean, I get like an 80s vibe from the show.
Yeah, I think this arc was written in the 90s, was my understanding. But I'll have editor Steve confirm the timeline. So the Death Row Inmate saga took place between 1999 to 2003. Also, the USSR is not mentioned. It's actually the Russian Federation that Valentin works for. If the USSR is still around, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, because they say that, right? It's like, he's KGB.
He's definitely KGB.
Yeah.
He's actually former KGB.
And from the Russian Federation, former KGB officer Valentin Sokolov.
Yeah, so this meeting... Well, just for context for you, Naomi, so 5 death row inmates from around the world broke out of their jails, flew to Tokyo to taste defeat. Sikorsky is one of them, and the only one we meet this episode. And so Sanada, who, listeners of the show, we haven't seen him in a while. You might remember him as the man who was peeing at a urinal, and then Speck came over and just humiliated him with his much larger stream of urine. So that's the police chief from episode 2 is back. And they're trying to figure out how to deal with the remaining death row inmates other than Dorian and Speck, who have been captured. The Russian ambassador has an interesting idea that apparently the Americans can fight fire with fire, as the English and apparently Japanese like to say.
Here in Japan, I believe you have a saying similar to the English expression fight fire with fire.
Oh, yeah, right. He has, like, a saying, right? Like, as the Japanese always say.
Yeah, I believe the Japanese have a similar saying to fight fire with fire. The Americans are pretty hesitant, but they decide to go for it. And so that leads into the main plot of the episode, which is Sanada, the police chief, flies to America, to Arizona State Penitentiary, to meet Mr. Oliver, the Unchained. Why don't you walk us through his arrival at the prison?
Okay, first of all, Mr. Sanada is supposed to be Japanese, right?
Yes.
So why is he black, kind of?
He's not
like
black.
The actor, the voice actor.
Yeah, great question. We're going to fact check if the voice actor is black. Why do I keep asking for editor Steve? Yes, the voice actor is black. He's very much, I don't know if you ever heard the term dwarfed. It's like a Star Trek term. It's like Worf is a character in Next Generation who's very tough, but his only role is to get beat up so that, like, you know that the other guy's even tougher than Worf.
Oh, I see.
So Sonata's a big, tough guy who serves to get completely emasculated by even tougher and stronger guys.
Yeah, because Mr. Olive, I mean, I never could have dreamed of such a man. But yeah, so he goes into the prison, and he, like, announces his arrival, and the prison guards are, like, suspect of his, you know, whether he's gonna be effective or not. Then he goes into that hallway, which is Mr. Oliver's hallway.
Yeah.
And, like, the best part was, like, it zooms in on the carpet. But it's just, like, because of the texture of the animation, the carpet's just, like, a flat ground, basically.
It's just red.
And he's like, but he's like, I wrote down the quote. He says, "This carpentry, this artwork, this guy lives like a fucking king."
This carpeting, this artwork, this guy lives like a freaking king.
Yeah, no, it's... I guess they have a more Spartan lifestyle in Japan.
Yeah, and nobody has red to be fair, I mean, like, burgundy carpeting. I mean, I don't know anyone.
I could see it being described as a royal red. I did also like the slight burn they had at Americans when they picked him up from the airport and he went,
"I've heard that Americans aren't too fond of working overtime, so I appreciate you picking me up at this hour."
I guess that's like a Japanese worker thing, because Japanese people are like better workers.
Yeah, and better at martial arts.
And better in general, I guess. Yeah, that's funny. Fair enough, you know, Japan, I get it. I don't work very hard.
Oh my god. Yeah, so Sonata shows up at the prison. So we're introduced to Mr. Oliver, and his basic shtick is this. Well, first off, this always annoys me. The character's name is Oliva, like with V-A.
Oh.
But for some reason, they always pronounce it Oliver, so that's how I'm going to call it. I don't know what's right.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down. I mean, that's definitely what I heard. I don't know if that's like specific to the dub or something.
I think it might be like a dub thing, like they're trying to Englishsize. Whatever. Have
you watched it like in the undubbed version, like just captioned?
I've done it for an episode or two, not this one. Jeff watched it all subtitles, so I sometimes hear what it's like from him, but
I feel like there's a lot more pleasure in hearing the voice acting.
Like the Japanese voice acting, or
no, the
English
dub voices.
It depends on the show. The problem is English voice actors are usually bad, and I don't know if I would say that Baki's an exception to the rule, but I think it very fits the vibe of the show.
Yeah, it's got character.
Yeah, but to describe Oliver, he is a prisoner. He lives in the prison, except he has art on the walls. He has various busts of just...
Oh, yeah, right. It's filled with statues. Like, these, like, metal, shiny statues.
Yep.
Busts.
He's got a big screen TV. He's got fine beers and wines in the fridge.
That fridge is, like, so sexy. That was a highlight for me.
And he's wearing, like, a nice dress shirt, you know? Like, a nice purple... a dress shirt's too formal. It's almost like a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, because it's got short sleeves. And it's, like, you know, so you can see more of his arms, I guess.
Yeah. And for reference, Oliver is... I know I say this every episode, but no, Oliver is the buffest guy we've ever seen on the show. He's bigger than the guy I said that was bigger than Yujiro. He's bigger than Yujiro. And there's a reason for that. Like a lot of Baki characters, Oliver is based on a real world person who was a Cuban bodybuilder.
No way.
Yeah. So that's we'll get into it in later episodes, but Oliver's shtick is he's not much of a martial artist. He's just very, very muscular. I've been thinking a lot about him recently, and I will say I think he's my most likable character in the show. I think he's a very cool guy.
The name's Oliver. I should have let you rest before meeting you, but I'm kind of an impatient guy.
Yeah, and like just the amount of worship that he receives from everyone based on his presence. Like Mr. Sonata, he sees him, and he's like, I wrote down this quote too.
He's huge, and not an ounce of fat on him either. The man is a towering mountain of pure muscle.
This man's a towering mountain of pure muscle. It's just like pure admiration too, because obviously this guy's he's like a fighter looking at a fighter.
He wants to be him. It's funny because I thought you were going to steal my quote, because I wrote down a very similar quote of,
Just look at that monstrosity of an arm. It's like a side of beef.
The show is like so mask while, also being like homoerotic.
It really is. I would really, you know what the funniest thing is? This is more women in it than I think any episode so far, just by having Kozue and her mom in the same episode. I have a lot to say about Kozue, but I'm gonna spread that out through the season. But yeah, so Oliver is one of the world's strongest men, and it turns out that he has a deal with the prison. He gets to live like a king, and he gets to leave whenever he wants. And basically, he is a bounty hunter, so he puts people in jail, and he lives like a king. It's pretty sweet.
Why is it I'm given free run of this joint, for example? Is one of the perks I get for being an excellent big game hunter. Criminals are the big game I hunt, and there is nobody better than I am at bagging them. As a matter of fact, most of the inmates here at Arizona State Penitentiary were captured by yours truly.
We neglected to mention that there's like this amazing jazz music that plays.
Yes.
while they're in the room. It's just like pure luxury, like hearing that music as he opens the fridge.
Champagne, Inspector? Or would you prefer a beer? A Japanese import?
And like there's so many different types of bottles in there.
Yeah.
Like it's like the fanciest like wine bar in Toronto that I've never been to before and like looked in the window of. Like it's like that level of fridge.
It's like it sounds like one of those old Stefan sketches on SNL. It's like the hottest club in New York is in an Arizona State prison. Talk to Mr. Oliver and you can get the finest Japanese sake.
Yeah, would you go hang out there?
Oh my god.
Like if you were you right now and it's like, oh, tomorrow fly you out to Japan. It's for work reasons.
No. Well, first of all, it's in Arizona, but he flew to Arizona.
Oh wait, because they're in the U.S.
Yeah. No, because as much as I like Mr. Oliver, any Baki character has a good chance of just beating me up for some reason. I would not trust it. Also, who am I hanging out with at this prison? What am I going to talk to Mr. Oliver about? Weightlifting?
You just, like, give different, like, analogies for, like, his looks. Like, and your leg, like, it looks like a lamb shank.
Is that even a compliment?
I don't know.
Leg looks like a lamb shank. That's why he beats me up afterwards. All right.
I'm not saying I would go.
So my favorite Oliver thing, because after he explains himself, he gets called into duty. He's got to deal with some bad guy the U.S. government wants him to catch. So they walk out to the courtyard where they prepare to get on a helicopter, which I believe he flies the helicopter, which was pretty cool. And Sonata realizes there is a mural painted onto the wall of the prison. I wanted to get your thoughts on the mural.
Oh, yeah. Because it's kind of like, it looks crude. Like, it's like Oliver and then a bunch of the same person behind him, right? Like paper dolls or something.
Well, I think what it's supposed to be is Oliver pointing out at the sun, or pointing out into the distance, and then a bunch of crying criminals behind him.
Oh.
It looks like propaganda.
Yeah, it's strange. And he said he got people to paint it for him.
Yeah.
It's definitely like I said, I thought we were still in Japan. I don't think this type of thing would happen in Arizona.
Well, if you're as strong as Oliver and you want a mural. By the way, my favorite part of the episode is the fact that everybody is that like the prison guards and the warden are like calling him Mr. Oliver, and like they have to do whatever he says.
Yeah, and he's like, it's like, the only thing about his presence that, like, commands respect is, like, his body. Like, he's a completely casual person.
Yeah.
Like, he answers the phone. Did you notice?
Oh, yeah, he said, like, yeah, what up?
Yeah, what's up?
That was so great.
Just straight out of, like, The Wire or something.
Yeah, what's up?
Wire. But the police are just like, how do we arrest this man?
Yeah.
He's bulletproof.
Because, you know, like, in those, like, Reddit threads, it's like, what's the thing about America that you, like, expected, like, that there to be based on, like, watching American culture? And everyone says that thing about how Americans don't answer the phone, like, saying hello, because, like, in shows.
Yeah.
That's what they do. I feel like the Japanese were trying to, like, make him American by doing that.
And they succeeded,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Super cool. I loved it. I'm going to answer my phone that way.
I'm going to just change my voicemail to, yo, what up? All right. So they fly a helicopter over. It seems there's been some sort of terrorist activity. A lone criminal called Jeff.
Let's get this little reunion of ours started. Okay, Jeff?
Oh, Jeff!
I know. I realized halfway through when Oliver just called him Jeff, and I was like, yeah. So Jeff, the criminal, has taken over the a random building, killed a bunch of people. It turns out that Jeff used to be a cop who would beat up hippies and was pretty good at martial arts.
Remember me? Jeff Marks, New York State Police. I was an enterprising guy back then. Used to make a little on the side by shaking down hippies and such. Then one day you showed up. I thought I was pretty good at martial arts, but you taught me different.
Until Oliver one day beat the absolute snot out of him and just obliterated him. So Jeff plotted his revenge and summoned Oliver to this trap. Naomi, can you just tell me how this how his master scheme goes?
Okay, so this is when he goes up the stairs, right? Yeah, so what happens? He goes up there.
So he goes up the stairs, talks to Jeff, and then Jeff tells him to strip.
Oh, right. And then he says, look at the size of you. It's no wonder I didn't stand a chance against you.
Look at the size of you. It's no wonder I didn't stand a chance against you back then, huh?
To be fair, I don't think Oliver's Hawaiian shirt was really hiding his muscles. I could have told you how buff the guy was.
Yeah, because he says that after, because it says, but why does he make him strip? ? That was what I was wondering. And then I said Oliver has a nice ass. But yeah, so you get like full frontal nudity, but it doesn't really show. I mean, I wanted
to describe, how would you describe that nudity? Because I wouldn't say it was tasteful. It's Oliver full frontal. They have shaded out his genitals, so you see the silhouette. And apparently he is just completely erect.
Oh, you know what? I totally missed that. Because I was like, I'm not seeing this. Like, there must be shadows. Yeah, do you have an image?
This is the fun part about doing this record is I can just show you.
Like, for sure.
Imagine if it's just like my desktop background.
Oh, yeah, look, it says Mr. Oliva.
This
is strange. Yeah, so it's for sure very homoerotic, but it seems to come out of nowhere.
So.
Right, okay, I remember the shot of the stomach. Close up.
Look at this.
Oh my god!
So, like, it's just the silhouette. But yeah, it's...
No, you're seeing... It's very clear what it is that you're seeing. Like, there's nothing left to the imagination. Like, and the pan up is so, it hits you over the head.
It definitely
could. I thought Japanese people were supposed to be subtle.
Oh, you've watched this episode. There's no subtlety. Anyway, it's...
Wow. I did not notice that the first time. I think that said something about me, that I'm very innocent.
Yeah, you were judging the overall character. Your eyes weren't drawn to the gutter.
Yeah, I was just looking at his muscles, and thinking, how can I train in martial arts so I can look this way?
And you missed the biggest muscle.
Yeah. So the prisoner is turned on by Mr. Oliver.
Of course, yeah.
To the point that he's willing to sacrifice
his life. And we can call the prisoner Jeff. I think it's funnier that way.
Right. So Jeff, last name not included. Yeah, so he's so aroused.
He pulls out his shotgun and shoots Mr. Oliver point blank 5 times on his naked body. Viewers at home, I'm sure you can guess this does absolutely nothing. In a move that I'm sure I've actually seen the Hulk do before, Oliver then flexes and pushes all of the bullets out of his body because his muscles are that strong.
So is this where he says, guess you weren't aware that I have a steel plate over my heart?
No, that's the next part.
Oh, okay.
So that part I thought was predictable. You shoot Oliver with a shotgun, it doesn't work. The next part was a surprise.
Oh, the sword, right?
When he brings a katana out from Yeah, how does that go for him?
It doesn't seem fair almost, like in a plot sense, because it's so unearned. Like, it's like surprise us in one way or the other way. Like, either the katana or the steel plate.
Yeah, it's.
But when you do like surprise, like, it just like it loses its effect.
Yeah.
Try dodging this!
Guess you weren't aware I have a steel plate over my heart.
So yeah, Jeff pulls out a katana, tries to stab Mr. Oliver. Turns out he's got a steel plate right over his heart. And Oliver gets bored of the fight and punches Jeff probably 30 feet out a window to his death.
Which we could have predicted. Like, we didn't have to see like the shadow of his dick.
No.
The sword, shotgun. At some point, I think it must be Jeff who says it to Oliver. Well, aren't you the sneaky little devil?
I think that makes sense.
Which is very flirty.
Oh, yes.
Which is in line with what we're seeing. It's basically they just like inserted a gratuitous sex scene. Which has no consequence. Well, I suppose Mr. Oliver...
It has consequence to Jeff. But yeah, there's no real consequence other than we learn Oliver is very strong and has a metal plate over his heart.
And we knew that he did exactly what he said he was gonna do. It's very straightforward in some ways. It's not a surprise ending.
Well, there is one way this is a surprise ending. So, other Jeff, the same Jeff, who knows? But the Jeff who was on the podcast a few episodes ago. So he watched Baki before I did. He watched this first season when it came out, and so this was actually the last episode that was out at the time. Mm-hmm. And so he just assumed that it was a regular season, and he was waiting to see how are they going to tie things up this season. And so the way this season ends is we spend 25 minutes with a character we've never met before, and then he punches a guy out a window, and that's the end of the season, which I think is one of the greatest season finales I've ever seen.
Is it like... As a cliffhanger, it kind of works.
But it's not even a cliffhanger. Like, are we supposed to care about Jeff flying out the window?
Yeah, I guess it's true. Because the very final shot is Mr. Sonata, right? And he's just, like, I said, completely aghast.
Yeah.
He's got, like, those white circles of sweat on his face or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is a character that we know.
Yeah, we've seen him a few times.
But it's true, like, why do we care? What's going on in Baki world? Like...
Kozue is still kidnapped. Who knows?
And really, this has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it's literally a roadblock. It's like, we want to bring Oliver to Japan. I guess he's got to do this first. He's got to deal with Scarface.
Yeah, it's almost like... Yeah, my final note says, I thought this was about Baki, not Oliver. So, even having not watched it at all, like, I thought there was going to be more.
It's so funny because you had one of the most Baki episodes of the season. Baki had an actual combat in this episode. He had agency. For the last few episodes, Baki's only shown up in half of them, and he usually just kisses, goes away, and that's the end.
Whoa!
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the meaning of like making Baki so tangential? Like, are they gonna introduce him more in the coming episodes?
This whole season, the Death Row Inmates arc is not super Baki focused. After this, we're going to do the Raitai tournament, which is a lot more Baki focused. Then Baki goes back to the Arizona State Prison for a season, and that will be very Baki focused.
This is so Wire. Like, it's got that kind of... Like, because, Wire has, like, the first season is, like... Just,
well, I've often heard people say The Wire is the best television show of all time. So I think it makes sense that it would draw a lot of comparisons to Baki.
Yeah, because, like, have you seen it?
No.
Like,
it's on my list after Oz.
You should watch. I think you would like, if you like Baki, you would love The Wire.
Imagine my YouTube recommendations. You've watched a lot of Baki. Do you want to watch The Wire? Do you want to try The Sopranos?
It could. I mean, I guess it's not on Netflix. It's on HBO.
Yeah.
But anyways, like the first season is like these black people that live in this certain housing project.
It's all about Baltimore, right?
Yeah, it's all about Baltimore. Then the next season is like these white people that are like, I don't know, they do something with boats, like, boat freight people.
Keep going. I'm gonna keep all of this.
Like a white mafia. Yeah. I think every time I watched it, I like fell asleep halfway through the episode.
This sounds like the greatest TV of all time.
Yeah, I guess I'm not very good at like mansplaining The Wire because I didn't pay that much attention. But I know it's supposed to be good, and the parts that I saw, I liked. But it's just like each season, there's a large universe. Okay, like the MCU.
Yeah.
Or the Baki universe.
BCU.
What does the C stand for?
Cinematic.
Is there a Baki movie?
No. I'm pretty sure it's just one anime from the year 2000 and then the two that we've gotten more recently. Criminally under-adapted franchise, in my opinion. So that's the episode. But I wanted to ask you a question. Two questions, actually. I'm bringing back an old one. The first thing, I haven't done this in a few episodes because we sort of burned through all the good characters, but if you had to define Mr. Oliver in just a sentence or two, how would you define him?
Arms like a side of beef.
Okay. Perfect.
What about you?
Oh, nobody ever asks me that. A man with a heart of gold and a steel plate protecting it.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, what's up?
Hey, what up? Sorry, I got a call from Mr. Oliver. All right. I did have one other question for you that I ask every person. I feel like I know your answer here, but now that you've watched an episode of Baki, do you consider it a good show?
So this is like a yes or no question.
It's not usually. I did have Christian answer it with no and then move on. But usually it's... I'd love to hear your thoughts.
The whole time, I'll tell you what I was thinking when I was watching it. I was thinking it's very sophisticated to be watching something from somewhere else. And I didn't realize that watching anime was so sophisticated. You're really
experiencing another culture.
Yeah, another culture's aesthetic. It's interesting. And I think Baki has like a real clear aesthetic. It's about these sort of muscles and these like particular type of angular drawings, and Yeah, I think he's great.
Perfect.
I know what the creators of Baki value the most, and they're expressing it, you know.
That's what I love about it. You can tell there's passion in the show. Like, they really have things they like to discuss, and which in this case is fighting, martial arts, and muscles. And there's always something new.
Yeah, and you know what? It's also entertaining. And it's explicit, which is a must for me. I'm being serious, like, with books and shows and stuff. I mean, if there's sex involved, like, I'm probably gonna keep watching.
Oh no, Lindsay we were laughing about how you showed us what's that British show where they're
Naked Attraction.
Yeah, and then I showed you this episode of Baki.
Yeah, I mean, you understand my aesthetic preferences, and
I pick every episode for a certain person. So.
Yeah, honestly, thank you. You know, that's all I have to say is just I'm full of gratitude.
Well, that's a great note to end things on. Yeah, so that's the end of season 1. We're not taking a break. We'll be back next week with the first episode of part 2 of season 1. More Mr. Oliver. Make sure to review, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mom, get everyone listening to Baki Talki, because that's all the Baki we've got to talkie. See you all next week.
Bye.